Hello everyone, it's me, Sirenu-Eve art. Once again, like always, I do apologise. My wardrobes behind me have mirrors along them so you can see me. Hi! This week's video, guys, is finally a sketchbook tour. It's going to be a complete, sketchbook tour of this Royal Talens. I finished this back in May this year and I started it in June 2023. So it's been a long chunk of time that it took me to fill this. I remember for a good half a year I got to about there and I just didn't do anything in it for like half a year. It was just a very long time to take. In my new sketchbooks, they're almost complete. I've been really good with them this year and I've been really more into my art and into just letting myself make mistakes. Well, with this sketchbook, you'll probably be able to tell when I finally show you the pages, I was a bit more strict with myself on this one, and I never really kind of let myself venture out with different like materials, and I was very like strict with trying to make each page really pretty and perfect, and that's not what sketchbooks for. You're supposed to be able to have fun with them and you're supposed to just let yourself kind of create anything that you feel like on the day, and if you make mistakes, you're kind of supposed to just like leave it there because that's like the way you learn, and that's what a sketchbook's for, to mess around, have fun, make mistakes and learn different new qualities to your art that you end up might keeping or that you discard and you don't need anymore, don't want to do anymore. But I was very strict with this one. There is some pages and obviously there is plenty of mistakes in here, but there's definitely more complete like paintings in this sketchbook compared to my newest one, where I'm a bit more strict, and you can see I try to keep it more realistic and I don't kind of let myself have a bit of flow. Whereas in, just really quickly, you guys will have seen this sketchbook on my channel quite a few times. I have allowed myself to be a bit more loose with this, and obviously there is times where like I will be a bit more strict and I do actually try, like, not saying that I haven't tried with the other ones, but I do try and I do like do the realistic drawings. But I've had far more fun with this sketchbook, for instance, just being like loose and just doing loose flower scenes and fields. And what's another good example? Just being really loose and scruffy and just sketching out random scenes. And for instance, that one didn't work out and it didn't go well, which is fine because that's what a sketchbook's for. And then to more pieces where I actually really enjoyed them and I actually liked how the abstract loose kind of feel came out in them. And yeah, so I've definitely been less strict with myself on this sketchbook, and that's probably why I've completed it so like, this isn't complete yet, but I've done so much in just the space of a couple of months compared to where this one, where I was more strict with myself, it took me like years to complete, where this one's probably going to be complete by the end of the year and I started this year. So very exciting. And I find myself having far more fun with that one, where I remember there was a lot of times I did certain sketches and paintings in this one that I'm about to show you that I got myself really wound up over for some reason. I just wanted them to be like pristine, and I like remember having loads of moments where I was like, why can't you do this, Eve? Why can't you paint it? Why can't you? And it's like, that's not what sketchbook's for. So without further ado, guys, I'm just going to get straight into it and let's see what this bad boy holds. So this is my June 2023 to May 2025 sketchbook tour. It is one of the Royal Talens art creations. A lot of people use them for a lot of mixed media art. They do not hold water the best, so as you can see from a lot of these pages, there is a lot of buckling that will happen and bleed through. So really it's kind of, they can handle like a little bit of water, like tiniest amounts. They can handle the tiniest amount of like markers, things like that, but there is bleed throughs with them. They're not the thickest paper, but just for practice and for the price that you can get these for, they're really, I think they're quite good value for money. But if you're wanting a sketchbook that offers a really professional finish, or you want something that doesn't buckle, this definitely isn't the sketchbook for you. You definitely need to go with something maybe 100% cotton if you want to use a lot of water, or if you're like me and you're just using it to practice and you're not really bothered if it does buckle, then these are fine as well. I mean, I've really abused some of these pages with the amount of water I put on them, and they've stayed in the book, just the buckling, and obviously there is a lot of bleed through. So that's the only downside to these. But yeah, let's just get straight into this, guys. So when you first open this sketchbook, this is what you guys will see. Just my name, my sketchbook, and then the year it started. Once again, some more little fish and some little soot sprites from Studio Ghibli. They're in Spirited Away and My Neighbour Totoro, very cute. a little loose quick sketch of Emily from Corpse Bride, a random kind of animated style eye, a goldfish, but obviously as you can see the transfer is obviously, I didn't spray these pages, so there is a lot of transfer on these pages. Once again, some more transfer of these. I did these with the, if I can bring them closer, I used the Faber-Castell Polychromos on these, another attempt at a goldfish, and then another type of cichlid type fish. I remember when I did these, I was very happy with how they turned out, especially the goldfish, even though now his face is a little derpy, but I feel like fish have really derpy faces anyway, so I feel like that can be forgiven. Obviously this was in the era where I wasn't doing any fine liners, I was just going with pencil, so you can see like the rough outline sketches of the circles and the different shapes I originally made before I did the final outline. And then this was they were the different Faber-Castell colours I used. So I used 101, 119, 191, 190, 94, 195 and 199. They are also the Faber-Castell Polychromos. I remember I just got these random references off, I got them off Pinterest, they were just random. I remember this was, someone had edited a photo of a lady's mouth that had black lipstick on and she had a tongue stuck out and it had a spider on. I attempted that, and then I was trying to learn like how to draw mouths and tongues. That was a bit more animated style, and then I tried to go a bit more realistic with these, and I think they actually turned out pretty decent considering I had no idea what I was doing with those. And then this was a loose sketch that was going to be Howl from Howl's Moving Castle Studio Ghibli, as you can see, transferred again. This was before I even knew a fix-it and spray was such a thing, that you can kind of set your pages that you do pencils. Now I always use the, if I can quickly grab it, I always use the Winsor & Newton professional fixative spray. It's perfect, it stops any transfer like this happening. But yeah, so I was kind of just trying to learn how to draw mouths and tongues. I do more anatomy further along in the book as well, and I really was happy with how that one, I remember, and this turned out at the time. And then this was kind of more animated style and just edited. These weren't like real photos of anyone's mouths, but I remember these being real photos. And then I did more polychromos on both sides. They were all the numbers again of the different polychromos colours I used of the Faber-Castell. Did a loose sketch of a jellyfish. I remember at the time loving how these pages turned out because they were just really colourful and bold. I just loved them. And then I did some random doodles of some eyes. Once again, quite animated style. I used to be obsessed with drawing like anime and animated characters. I kind of, throughout the sketchbook, didn't really have a personal style. I've definitely got more of an art style now, but I was kind of just sketching for fun, which is what it's meant to be. You should always be doodling for fun. And I just did some random colours. This reminds me all the time of like Tokyo Ghoul, if you've seen that anime. The ghoul's eyes are black with like red irises, and then very like clown vibes, I feel. This is Shiro off Dead Man Wonderland. I copied this off a manga panel because I've got the mangas, and there was text obviously on the manga panel, but I've just blocked it all out with black. I used the polychromos once again. I did use the fixative spray on this, so that's why there's no transfer with this. And I used to always have a piece of tissue just to prevent any transfer. I remember being really impressed with this, and I think this was the first sketch I did a YouTube short of, and I remember it did really well and it got a lot of likes and it got a lot of views, and I was like, oh my god, wow, thank you. So that was that. It's slightly coming out, and then a little planchette with some little creepy eyes. There is an animated series on YouTube called, is it Haluva Boss? It's either Haluva Boss or Has-Been Hotel. I always forget because it's by the same people, but both sides have different characters in. Anyway, so this was like one of the, like, I don't know what she's supposed to be. I just like the look of the character. She's like a wolf bee kind of thing because she's got wings as well, but I just thought it was very cool. I like the colour palette of this character. I remember I just saw a short of her and I was like, I really love the colours. So I did that. Once again, we're in the era now of being able to use fixative spray, thank god, so there's no bleeding and there's no transfer onto the next pages. So I did her, and I remember loving that. And then I think I did a couple more characters. Yeah, so this is like kind of what I take no credit, by the way, for these, because I've literally just drawn what I've seen. I'll have to try and link down below. They're called, like, is it Visi Pop, or there's something. I will link the YouTube down below, and I'll also put the name somewhere here. So I take no credit because the designs are theirs, but I've just drew them, like the characters that they've made. And I don't know the names of each character. I'm assuming will have their own name. So I did that. And I did this little demon kind of little character that YouTube channel's made. These were like rough outline sketches of Melanie Martinez, because I did a painting for a cousin for their birthday, and it was their newest album. Like, I think she's done like Alien-esque, and it's like got multiple eyes. Anyway, I ended up doing it. I will link a photo, sorry. I'll show a photo quickly here that you can see of the final painting that I did this. I remember being really impressed with how the gouache painting I did for my cousin turned out. It was a birthday gift and I was really happy with it. I put like gold leaf around it and everything. So that's what that is. And then this was, I'm going to put this down because my hands are aching a little bit. These were some attempts at some rats and mice. I tried to draw a little rat. These are just random images of Google once again. Some little loose designs of mice. Not the best, not the worst. I kind of get their faces right. It's their proportions of their bodies that I'm not very good at doing. But we live and we learn. I did them in November 2023. Kind of just added random colours of watercolours and pencils. Have no idea why at the time. Try to draw random horses. They did not go out at all right. I cannot draw horses for the life of me. And this is off. There is a series on Netflix called Love, Death and Robots, I believe it's called. And yes, sorry, I've just realised I wrote down Love, Death and Robots, and there's 2 seasons, I believe, and it's different people's animation styles, and they will make like an episode each, and this one was an episode called Jabaro. I'll link an image of what the character looks like here, because I thought that I really loved that episode, and the character, I thought like the design of this girl was like really cool. She's like covered in like jewellery, like old traditional jewellery. And it's supposed to be like siren-esque, like she's supposed to be a siren. I remember loving that episode, so I drew a rough sketch of her. And then here I did some little different types of birds. So this is a little loose sketch of a blue tit, and then I've done a little bullfinch here, and then this is a little low tit. Very cute, very tiny, very loose. I just used a normal graphite pencil for these, did some blending with some of these kind of like buffing paper stick things. I never know what these are called, but you basically can like just blend out stuff with it. And then a random loose, I think this is supposed to be a tree, and I think I ended up getting frustrated and I was just doing loads of random squiggles with a brown and grey uni pin fine liner. Attempted Howl again of Howl's Moving Castle. Didn't do the proportions right. The eyes and face needs to be wider, and then obviously this bit is probably fine, but this whole headpiece needs to be wider, which I can see now. And then little calcifer, once again using the polychromos. How cute. If you've not seen Studio Ghibli, Howl's Moving Castle is definitely a good one to watch. And then I did some swatches of the Faber-Castell Alberdure watercolour pencils, and then I randomly swatched some Lyra aqua markers on this page. Another random eye, another character. This is May Rain of Black Butler, using the Faber-Castell Jewel gold Faber markers. It was the first time I think I used them markers. And then I did this piece, which is one of my favourite pieces in this sketchbook. It is of Catwoman. Funnily enough, I've got a Catwoman top on. Michelle Pfeiffer is definitely, it's probably my favourite role she played in the Tim Burton's Batman and Catwoman. And I did this with the Himi gouache. So yeah, I remember loving how this piece turned out. Did all the stitches in the fine liner, and then went in with some white Posca and Sakura Jelly Roll for the whites and the highlights. And I just remember loving this piece. It's definitely my favourite, one of my favourites out of the sketchbook. And then I did a guinea pig. They were the colours. I just did a little swatch, loose swatch of different polychromos that I used. Little guinea pig. How cute, he's just a baby. Some random little axolotls. These were just, I was wondering what the glitter pens turned out. These were the zebra glitter gel pens that I got gifted. And I just randomly did axolotls, I don't know why. But how cute. And then this is a cockerel, and I did some eggs randomly, and then they're the polychromos colours that I used to get the cockerel. How cool. Once again, some Sakura jelly roll, just randomly putting some highlights. This is the start of when I started adding white highlights onto everything, and you will notice that even in my paintings today, I always have like random lines of white highlight. Even where there wouldn't be highlight, I just add it on. It's my kind of thing now. I think I've just inherited that. But I remember being really impressed with how this turned out, and then I thought it was cute to do eggs, and then I had like an idea to do birds and their nests and egg types, but I never finished this. This was going to be a blackbird because I know their eggs are quite like a nice blue, and I thought I could have started a series for that, but I never continued it. It might be something that I continue on, but I never finished this kind of idea I had. And then this is like a loose little watercolour piece. Like I say, as you can see, the paper does buckle and it does bleed through and transfer quite a bit, as you can see. So it cannot handle like a lot of water. But like I say, if you're like me and you're not too bothered if it does buckle or leave markings like this, then it's very easy to use. But I kind of just did like a little bit of a stargazing here, looking at the moon, and then kind of did like a space kind of background. I remember loving how this turned out. It reminded me a little bit of Wash Up Down, but also a little bit of just like kind of witchy vibes. I don't know why, but I did like this piece. And this was just with the cotton watercolours. And then I did the same kind of thing, did a mixture of random watercolours in the background. I used some of the Winsor & Newton ink and splattered a load of white, and then I did this kind of loose barn owl in the ink as well, and then randomly in the glitter gel pens did my name and my channel name, and then a little snail. I can't remember what I used to do these might have been the Albert Dürer. I do have a video where I did this snail, so I will link it down below. I did that in July of 2024. Didn't do anything on this page, and then in this page is going to get me sad. This is my little fur baby, and we lost her in July last year, and she was 14 years old. She was an absolute baby. She was like such the perfect dog. So I did a little coat for her and some fine liner. I did purple because it's my mum's favourite colour, and also we always joked saying she was such a purple girl. She suited purple and red. And then I drew her. So this is little Lara, or as we called her, Wawa, because my sister, when we first got Lara, when she was only little, she was about 15 months old, so just over a year, and my little sister was just a baby when we got her, and she couldn't pronounce Lara properly, so it always, after that, just stuck, and it was just Wawa. And we rescued her back in 2010. We got her off a random guy down. My parents got her from because my granddad had a neighbour who was going to get rid of her, and he was like, oh, I know somebody that would take her, and then my mum and dad got her, and she was our family baby forever. But yes, I miss her so much. This was a scene that I never finished. I think it was Tunstall Reservoir. I might be wrong about that. I don't think it was, sorry. I will write down here somewhere what reservoir this was, but there's always loads of ducks, and I never finished this piece. As you can see, there's like I don't know if I can get really close. There's a loose sketch of where a duck should be. But once again, never finished it. Like I say, I went through loads of phases of just not doing any art and like not being motivated to do it. Some random loose, I think I was just messing around here. Jellyfish, using different Posca markers, and then a little turtle randomly that I never finished, as you can see. It must have gotten towards Christmas time. Once again, some more Blanchland stamps. Because I did these, I kind of used acrylic and kept the acrylic thick, and kind of made like these fake light scenes. Did some holly. This is a little snowman. This was using the Winsor & Newton Galleria acrylics, and then I did like a little church scene. How cute. I remember also loving this page as well. I loved how like fluffy the edges of the snowman came out, and I like that kind of misty church scene that I did. Very Christmassy, very Christmassy. And then I remember this time I'd watched a series on Netflix called Alice in Borderland, and I remember being so impressed by their first and second season that I did like a loose sketch of what I was going to kind of do, if you've never seen the series, none of this will make sense, but basically it's card games, and each card game is like a different type of game that they have to complete. It's a very sad series, actually. There's a lot of death in it. It's very hard to explain, but the little characters all mean something, and it's a very sad series, actually. If you are into them, it reminds me of I remember my mum said it give her royal battle royale vibes, and I watched it and I was very same. It's very if anyone's seen Squid Games, it's like that, but I believe Alice in Borderland came out before Squid Game. I might be wrong about that, but I've watched both Squid Game and Alice in Borderland, and I must admit, Alice in Borderland I think is definitely better, but that's just my personal opinion. They've brought a third season out recently, which I watched, and I didn't really like it, but the first and second season's brilliant of Alice in Borderland. And then I don't know why, I randomly had a dream of like two guys in hazmat suits, and there was a weird like floor like this, so I don't know why I randomly drew that using some silver markers, some watercolors. I used some inks for that, and then did two little hazmat suits just with little fine liners. A bit creepy, but I don't know, I randomly went through a phase where I was having like really odd dreams, and I drew them down, some of them. So that was one of the dreams that I drew. And then drew some little cats, very loose, just with some permanent marker. It was literally just really quick. And then I drew my little aloe vera. He is much bigger now. This is the original pot that I was drawing, but it's got a new plant in now. This is a completely different succulent. My succulent had pups, and these are the pups that I've separated, and I'm gonna have to re-separate them because this one's had a pup now. But this is the container that it was in, way bigger than that now. It's huge, my aloe. So yeah, I did a little still life using some of the gold Faber markers once again. Must have been close to Christmas. Did with the Faber-Castell gold Faber markers, did some little candy canes and some hollies, just some little bold paintings, little sketches. I just did like almost like wallpaper vibe. And then I did some clouds with the Poscas. I was just kind of messing around with Poscas and different markers when I was doing these, and then I just kind of was going through like a bold Posca phase, I think. Once again, some loose little fish. I don't know what I was trying to do there. Random creepy faces. Sometimes I'm concerned about myself. No, I'm joking. But yeah, some little fish, some little creepy dude faces. I don't know whether I was trying to make it look like a tree. I have no idea what was going through my head when I did that. But and then this is a little scene. I believe I got this image off Pexels, I think, or Pixabay. It's usually where I get my free reference photos if I don't have anything on my camera roll. So nice little lighthouse, little seagull. I went in with, I remember, the Cotman for these, and I think I went in with a bit of white Winsor & Newton ink for the highlights of the lighthouse. I remember really liking this one as well, how this turned out. And then once again, I had another dream. This is off another dream as well. I had a random dream of two nights, and I woke, this is going to sound insane, but I'm a very open person, it does not bother me. I remember having a weird dream, on the night, and when I woke up, I must have been half asleep, but when I woke up, I thought there was someone that looked like this, like a knight, stood beside me. It sounds insane, but I genuinely thought was stood beside me in bed, like beside my bed, and it freaked me out. And then on the next day I drew it, because I was like, oh my god, I have to draw that. So yeah, so whether I was just, I obviously was clearly half asleep, but I had like a nightmare, woke up, and then I thought I saw this kind of style knight beside my bed in my room, and it like freaked me out, so I drew it. And then this is another weird creepy thing. It reminds me a little bit of Spirited Away, off No Face. Another thing, I woke up one night, I think I don't know whether I maybe like just wake up really confused, but this was another thing where I woke up from a nightmare and went to go to the bathroom for some water, and I thought I saw something. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but because it's probably just all in my head. But yeah, so these are just two different situations where I woke up and then thought I saw something in my room, and I thought I saw something on the landing that looked like these. So I just drew them because I thought, how cool. May as well turn spooky experiences into art, I guess. So I drew a little knight like this, did sword, little shield, little crosses. I shouldn't have really probably drew that one upside down, I do apologise. Drew little swords, and then drew this little dude. And then I remember this was like a phase as well where I was loving the Winsor & Newton calligraphy ink. I'll quickly show you guys the ink that I'm talking about. But this is the Winsor & Newton calligraphy ink. It's so pigmented. I know it's for writing really, but this was, I went through like a bout of loving using this, and that's what I did this background with. Like, how pigmented and nice is that? There's like no buckle, no bleed through. It was just lovely. And then I used the Winsor & Newton black ink as well for this, and then the white. So I used the calligraphy ink for the background. And then these style inks, which are also Winsor & Newton, the white and the black, for little no face here. But yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, I had 2 weird spooky experiences, and that's why I ended up drawing these. Who knows if what I saw was real, because obviously, like I say, I had just woken up, so maybe I was just disorientated. And then a random witch cat. It was coming close, I think, to Halloween at this point, so I drew a little cat with a cauldron, and you think it's making something spooky, but it's not. He's just making some fish stew, and he's got his little witch brush. So yeah, so I did a little witch cat. Once again, went in with some of the Winsor & Newton calligraphy ink in purple, and then for these I went in with some of the Hemi gouache. Once again, loving the ink. I had finished a book called that my auntie got me for Christmas on my birthday, one of the two, by Darcy Coates, and it was called Up on Gallows Hill, I think, and the front cover has a house on it, and I just took my own inspo. I'll get the book quickly, 2 seconds. This was the book my auntie got me. It's a really good book, I definitely recommend it, by Darcy Coates, and this is the house that's on the front cover. So I drew my version of a house, and then I thought it'd be really creepy to do like the background, like have the lights on, do the background all red, and do like weird speckles of black, keep the moon black, and do all this. It gives me a little bit of Blair Witch vibes as well. I'm not like a massive fan of that film, but my mum loves it, and it kind of gives me Blair Witch like cover, like movie cover vibes. And then I wanted these to kind of look like roots, and I was gonna do hands, but I didn't end up having time. But I went in with the calligraphy inks once again for these, the Winsor & Newton, and got inspo off that book. So like I say, you can get inspo for so many things from different things. Like if an idea comes to your head, guys, I definitely recommend you just sketch it or even write it down for when you feel like drawing or doing art pieces, because half the inspirations I get to do certain art pieces is literally from like books that I've read, or they'll be randomly just like, I will see a plant in my garden or a bird that lands in the garden or something, and it'll give me the inspo to draw it or write it. And like, I mean, what I said for these two, these were just random. I had like random occurrences where I thought I saw something, and that's what made me draw these ones. So you can get inspo from absolutely anything. And then I did, this was another attempt at hands. I kind of added some nails, went in with some of the like metallic ink that I've got. And I remember I used my own hand for reference because I actually have this, which my nan got me, and I like put it in my hands and just held it, and that's how it came about. And then attempted 2 different gentlemen. These are just 2 random photos for royalty free images, and I just searched Victorian men, and these 2 old photos came up, and I did a loose sketch of them because I don't really draw men. I only ever draw, like, if it's like hands, like, or like body anatomy or anything, it always seems to be women I draw, because I think I find women easier to draw than men. So I did an attempt at men, and they didn't turn out too bad. I don't know why, but for some reason he came out looking a bit like Van Gogh. But the photo I was referencing didn't look like Van Gogh. So clearly I just, like I say, I struggle with men, so I was like trying to like learn how to draw male anatomy a bit better. A little loose sketch that I did, tried to attempt a tree, and then I attempted a little deer. Deer came out a little bit fox-like, I think, on the face, a bit canine. I can't remember what I used. I think I used some of my granulating watercolours. I can't remember which brand, whether it was the White Knight or the Schmeeker, which added that kind of effect. I never really finished this or did much else with it. Then I did some loose sketches of some leaves, just using a brown fine liner, and then loosely went in with some common watercolours or any watercolour, Mungyo. I think I used different variations of watercolours for these. Did these in January 2025. Did some more Cotman watercolours I did for these two. I think I used the Mungyo for those, and then I went in with the Cotman for these. Some more leaves. This I got reference, it was a pomegranate and like a tree kind of olivey branch, and it was on the front of a candle I had. I don't have the candle anymore, but I got the candle from the range, and this image kind of thing, obviously it looked realistic, it was a real pomegranate and real leaves, was on the actual candle, and I used that for reference. So kind of like a semi still life, and just used all those. Pomegranates I think are such a good fruit to draw because they're quite an unusual looking fruit on the inside when they're cut. Did the same thing, went in with some of the Faber-Castell Albert Dürer for the background and just used them pencils, and then put some water on to make them blend into each other. Sorry, I didn't use the Albert Dürer, I used the Rembrandt pastels and added some water and blended them in. And then I went in with Faber-Castell Polychromos. Did like a warm tone and a cool tone. I really liked how all these kind of turned out. I kind of like that like loose watercolour leaf kind of vibe. Just randomly mixing colours together. Did a little ochre. This was another scene that I was going to be doing from, if you've seen it, Studio Ghibli, Howl's Moving Castle. There's so many Howl's Moving Castle in here. Yeah, it's not even my, like, it's a good Studio Ghibli, but it's not my favourite. Like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind and Princess Mononoke is my favourite, but for some reason I always seem to draw Howl's Moving Castle. So that was that. Once again, unfinished. Didn't finish it. Did some seagulls because they're chaotic and I love them. They're one of my favourite birds. Seagulls and kiwis, two of my favourite birds. I find them so funny, but I just did some loose little screamy sketches of some seagulls being chaotic, and then I did some sea lions, some seals just chilling on some stones. I just went in with a little bit of polychromos for any little coloration that I wanted on these. I did use Fixatum spray, but as you can see there is a little tiny amount of bleed through. Transfer, sorry, onto this page from the seals. And then I did some different types of whales. So that's a beluga, sperm whale, and then I did a normal. And then I did a common united octopus. Its Latin name is Octopus vulgaris. Once again using the polychromos. I do love my ocean animals, I'm not gonna lie. Did a little blackbird. It was supposed to be a male blackbird, but obviously the colorations that I picked out for him made him look like a girl, because the girls don't really usually have like a nice vivid yellowy orange beak. So it was a male bird that I was copying off, but I've used too many browns, so it ends up looking like a female. And then that obviously was going to be a background for something. I think I was swatching out the neo colours and I just never ended up adding anything onto that. This was another clearly anime sketch that was going to be happening. Clearly did not get finished. I think this is, I can't remember her name, but it's a character from One Punch Man. Another one, incomplete. I did like a loose sketch of Winter Jasmine there. Obviously unfinished. But if I just quickly bring this sketchbook in. There. So that was the Winter Jasmine, and that was how it ended up looking. That's how I ended up finishing it. Winter Jasmine. Then I was on the way of sketching out some manta rays. Once again, incomplete. Some incomplete sketches of owls. This was like, these next few pages I think were in the phases where I was just doing really loose sketches before I put them on watercolour paper. I think I've explained before, but there's so many, in sketchbooks, there's so many just random loose sketches like this. And then I'll actually make complete pieces on watercolour paper, because I usually do a sketch, use tracing paper, trace my sketch, and then trace the sketch onto the watercolour paper so I don't make any mistakes once it's finally on. Oh, I'm moving my leaves. Once it's on the watercolour paper, because I hate any marks left on watercolour paper because they're a nightmare to get off, especially if you're using 100% cotton. So some owls, a little loose sketch of a woman in like a kind of cloaked hood kind of thing. I think I was going to try and do like a fantasy style piece. And then I went in with some eye anatomy, doing eyes at different angles, different people's eyes. I think I was trying to learn like how to do with just pencil, how to get across in drawings, how like to depict, and how you like use just like normal graphite pencils, but how you can kind of get different skin tones. I remember being really happy with how the eyes turned out. I remember really being impressed. So that's kind of like front on, and then I try to do them from different angles to see if I was any good at it, because drawing an eye straight forward isn't too bad to do, but once like the iris is like in like a different position or a different direction, or someone's looking down, looking up, it's like really hard to draw actually. So yeah, I remember being really happy with that page. And I did some more. This one I really struggled with. Once again, drawing them face on, I don't have too much like hassle with. I tend to find it quite easy, but the moment the iris like is moved, or the moment it's at an angle, like adding the nose in, just nightmare. I cannot do noses for the life of me. Nose and feet, they're like probably the two anatomy bits that I really struggle with. So I try to draw an eye from an angle and try to depict, obviously because the eyebrow goes around, doesn't it, so a bit hard. But then once it comes to like just face on, I'm absolutely fine. Oh, fine at it. Can draw an eye face on, but then kind of put an angle to it, or a change of position of the eye or iris. It's very hard. But that's why we've got to learn, isn't it? I definitely think I'm gonna come back into the sketchbook and add another eye there. I could definitely fit something else on there. That's just a waste of paper. And then I attempted lips again. Mouths, once again, very hard to draw an angle, because of like how do you depict what like the cupid's bow, and how do you the whole shading process. And then the moment the nose is added in, that's it. It's just an absolute struggle for me. Once again though, lips front on, absolutely fine. The moment there's an angle, it becomes an absolute nightmare, doesn't it, doing anatomy? Well, I'm saying it becomes a nightmare to you as if everyone struggles with the same things. There's probably people out there that are absolutely like professionals at eyes and anatomy, and they're just really good straight on. But yeah, attempted some lips, and this was with just normal graphite pencils again. Random swatches of washi tapes, some little just cute little funny pumpkins. I've never drawn children or babies before, so this is like the first ever attempt, and it's the only attempt I've ever done. Using graphite pencil once again, and I actually don't think it turned out too bad. I think I've shaded them a little too much on the eyes, or her, I don't know, the baby and that, but because I think I've made the little baby look a little bit too old manish. But then again, babies do look like little old people, I think. Dead cute, bless. So I did a little sketch of that. But yeah, I think I did a little bit too harsh of a shading on some of the blanket bits, because this is like just a soft blanket the baby was in. And then a little bit too much shading around the eyes, so it's kind of made them like look like a little old man. But yeah, like I say, I feel like some babies do look like little old people. I think I was an old looking baby as well, so no judgment from my end. And then a kind of loosey-goosey siren-esque, mermaidy, whimsical fantasy kind of girl. Once again, the hand did not go right. The thumb needed to be more chunkier here, it needed to be more angled, and then the fingers are okay. And I remember just randomly going in with random Stabilo highlighters, these, to do backgrounds and colouring in. I just used highlighters, so there's no like professional art supply or equipment used for that. A little sketched out scene I haven't finished. It was going to be of Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs, one of my favourite films. And then a little quick doodle of a magpie. Obviously a magpie is not that blue, but I just wanted to make it that blue. And then I went through a couple of phases of drawing different character designs and thinking of little stories for them. I'm not going to look too much into this, but this girl, this was going to be a magpie, and this was kind of like a fairy-esque girl, and I kind of wanted her cloak to look into like a magpie's wings, so like feathers. Did the same with like a kind of like owl creature, another kind of fairy creature. I'm not going to show too much in case I still do these. Some kind of like horror-y, kind of creepy dudes. And then did more loose sketches of fish. Some loose little backgrounds. I think these were with the Neo colours again. a little plain tree branch scene with a little crescent moon. This was, you will have seen it, I will insert a photo here somewhere, but this was my concept design, like my beginning design of Alcred and Ismene, which is the old wise man and his raven that I came up with. And these were all the little writing bits I did for him. And I ended up doing him as a watercolour piece. Another little idea that I've got that I won't do too much in, but I thought of the concept of drawing a girl with like a weaving kit where there are spiders, and then I came up with different little bug ideas to do. Once again, won't show too much. And then obviously I was in a real writing phase this, so I kind of just wrote loads of little ideas and concepts, and then floral kind of concept designs I could do. This was a loose sketch of a dragon. Once again, I will insert an image. I ended up doing a water kind of style dragon watercolour, which I completed here. Did some more dragon heads, just kind of didn't know what type of dragon face to go for. I was going to do a random loose little Easter post with some lambs and chicks and hares and rabbits, sorry, but I didn't end up getting that done. Once again, another page that I did, this is my sketch of the kingfisher. I will add the complete watercolour here. So that's what I ended up doing and turning it into. This is my little loose sketch of Cappy Pug. How cute, he's such a baby. I'll add a photo of him here. He's absolutely massive. He's a unit of a dog. This is two little sparrowhawk designs I did in heads. I ended up going with that one. Once again, I will add here the complete watercolour that I did of this sparrowhawk. A starling. Also did this as a complete watercolour piece. Showed here. And then this is of a rook. The rook, once I did it on watercolour paper, ended up turning out a little bit more like a baby rook. So I will insert that here again. So I just find it really easy to sketch out my idea and then add it to watercolour paper. Did some more fish. I think I was going to try and attempt a locust and a frog. Didn't end up finishing it. And that was going to be a beta female fish, and then that was a type of cichlid. Random little loosey-goosey. I don't know whether I was trying to attempt a mountain there. And then I think I was literally just doodling here. I think I had a meeting and I randomly had, because I was a bit nervous. I don't usually get nervous talking to people, but for some reason this meeting had me really nervous, and I think I literally already had this background down. I opened it before the meeting and I just had a random different neo colours, and I was just randomly squiggling little loose flowers to kind of keep my hand and brain occupied so I wasn't too nervous talking, which usually never happens to me. I never usually get that nervous talking to people. I'm quite like gobby. I'm quite a chatty person, we won't say gobby. I'm just talkative and I like talking to people. Even though I'm introverted at the same time, I like my own space and I need like a good several hours alone. But when I do have to communicate to people, I don't usually get nervous, I usually just enjoy it. Two other pieces, sketches of house sparrows. We'll show the complete piece here. I did do this on a watercolour as well. I used the Hannah Muley paper for this. And then for my parrot, it's a blue and yellow macaw. I also did a complete watercolour piece I will show here now too. And then attempted of a little lizard face. I think this is, I don't know whether it was the little head of a kind of, I don't know, actually I don't actually know what species of lizard I was drawing there. And then this is my loose sketch from a reference photo that I got off Pexels. It was of a type of sighthound in heather, in a field, sorry, and I kind of made it heathery, and this was the design, and then this was the painting I did of the heather. How cute. So see, just because you sketch something doesn't show, like, you can end up creating into something bigger. But yeah, this was what it originally looked like. It was just a little loose sketch in my book, and then one day I was like, you know what, we're going to paint it, and I did. And I was so happy with how this turned out. I used the Winsor & Newton Galleria and professional acrylics with this. And I remember I really love how this turned out. And then coming towards the end, another loose sketch. It kind of looks demonic, I'm not gonna lie, it looks kind of creepy. It was supposed to be a loose sketch of another whippet, sighthound, and then I did some jellyfish loose designs with just some fine liners and some of the pastels, the Rembrandt. Too random. This is when I started kind of dabbling in the more abstract, kind of loosey kind of artwork. This was like a little like oceany moon scene and then a field and sunset scene, just with the Faber-Castell Gold Faber. I don't know what wheat. No, a random little stem of wheat, but loose style with the Faber-Castell again. I think this was going to be like kind of like a corally reef kind of look feel, but obviously did not turn out like that at all. It just looks like a mass of colour. And then some random leaves. These were different random painting ideas that I wanted to do, and I always write in my sketchbooks things that I want to draw or have in draw in the sketchbook, and I take them off as I do them. And I find that's kind of helpful. Like I've done it as well, I think, in this one, my newest one. Yeah, like wrote different ideas that I want to kind of sketch or draw, just random things, and then I will tick them off as if I've done them. And I need to actually tick some of these off because I've done quite a few of them now. So I just kind of find it's good, like just reference, I like randomly will just pick different birds or animals or different fruits, different like utensils, anything, and I'll just write them down, and then if I do sketch them or draw them, I just tick them off if I've done them. Like from this on, this was just kind of loose sketches of things that I turned into paintings. And then this side was a bit more adventurous. This half of the book was definitely more adventurous and I really went all out. And then this side was more looser sketches prepping for other paintings to complete. And yes guys, that pretty much is the end of the sketchbook tour. That is everything I did in my June 2023 to May 2025 in this sketchbook. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. I had an amazing time telling you all about this sketchbook, and I hope you like this little layout. I don't know whether I might kind of incorporate this every kind of video when I do like any kind of sketchbook tour, but I just thought it'd be cute to kind of have some crystals out and have some little acorns because it is autumn now, so it's very autumnal, and a little candle lit. That pretty much is all that I did in that sketchbook, and I hope you enjoyed this sketchbook tour, my dears. I definitely had fun talking about it and showing you guys this, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week and start to the new week, and I will see you in next week's video, guys. Bye.